Okay, great. Thanks, Bill. Okay, well, good morning, everyone. I'd like to, at this time, call to order the special meeting of the Municipal Finance Advisory Commission. It is the meeting of February 28th, 2024, with the call to order at 10:03 this morning. And being that this is a special meeting, we must adhere to addressing only those items that are on the agenda. So at this time, I would like to introduce and welcome our newest commissioner to the MFAC commission. That is Edward Sullivan. Ed is a CPA and partner with Whittlesley. And the firm does not currently audit any of the 169 Connecticut municipalities here in the state. Ed brings with him over 30 years of experience in public accounting, serving governmental and nonprofit organizations. And all of us involved in this process believe that Ed is going to be a great addition to this commission. So Ed, on a personal note, I look forward to working with you and welcome you to the commission.
Thank you, Michael. It's an honor to be here, and hopefully can help assist everyone and contribute to the improvement of the fiscal environment in the state of Connecticut with the municipalities. So look forward to working with everyone. Thank you.
Welcome.
All right, so next up is the approval of the minutes for the MFSA meeting held on December 13th, 2023. If I can entertain a motion.
So moved, Kim Kennison.
Okay, and a second.
Second. Tony.
Any discussion or edits or abstentions?
I will abstain since I was not at the meeting last time.
Okay. Okay, with no further comments, motion to approve.
Approve.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and then just the noted one abstention. Thank you. Okay, next up is an update on the delinquent fiscal year 2022 municipal audits. Bill, could I ask you just to provide an update on what has transpired since December?
Yeah, so going back to June, we'll start with June of last year. There were 20 audits, 2022 audits, not submitted within a year of the fiscal year end. And since that time, we've whittled it down. And in December, 5 of the 8 that were still outstanding were able to submit. And so at this point, we still have 3 municipalities with outstanding FY 2022 reports.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Bill. So it looks like we do have representatives from the 3 municipalities that are still outstanding on the 22 audit reports. They are Danbury, East Lyme, and Marlborough. So I think at this point, we'll start the discussion with Danbury. And welcome, Mayor Alves, if I have that correctly. And if you would like to just start with a general overview, and we can open it up to any questions from the commissioners.
Thank you very much, everybody, and welcome, Ed, Mr. Sullivan. It's nice to have more professionals in here. The municipalities need it, and we are happy to be working with you, getting Danbury out of the situation it's in. Last I spoke to folks, we did have a smaller call before this one, so I could fill everybody in on where we were. I will recap that in less time now. I took office in December. Election was November. I didn't have a quick transition here, or all intents and purposes, a friendly transition either. So when I learned of where we were under the MFAC group was when I had this on my calendar, and I was on that meeting with these folks in December. I listened very keenly. I understood the severity of the moment, and we took steps right from that call, and our team will update you on where we are. What we did was I got off of that call, and then I called folks that I knew in state government to say, hey, this is where Danbury is. We knew the situation was a little bad. We didn't know how bad it was. Give me some subject matter experts that you may recommend that can help us. So I talked to Lieutenant Governor, a good friend. And in the meantime, I also had our internals, because I wanted to make sure we used both Democrat and Republicans to find solutions to these very real problems through CCM. Folks on my Republican friend side, everybody came back to me with the same person. Like, hey, we think you should call Mike Walsh. So we did, and I set up an in-person meeting with Mr. Walsh. And through Mr. Walsh, we then got into contact with CLA. RSM's been doing a very good job for us externally. We needed help internally. And I like to say that since then and today, we worked, negotiated, contracted with CLA, and CLA has already been boots on the ground working with our teams internally as of last week. And we're very happy to have that going. That's what we did. We put money behind it. We know it's going to be tougher on the team, but that little bit of extra work, that commitment for money from our government now in the short term is what's going to help us get out of this. So we're not here with you next year. We know we still have to do the 23, but these are the steps we're doing to show you how serious we are. With that, I'll take a step back. My chief of staff is on the call. She's been a part of a lot of the meetings. And I know Dan Garrett is here as well. But if there are any questions to me as the chief executive, I'd be more than willing to answer.
Okay, great.
Diane has joined us.
Okay. Good morning, Diane. Okay. So can the chief of staff be unmuted?
Yep, I am here. So yeah, if you want me to speak to CLA, do you want me to tell you what we've been doing so far? Is that helpful?
Sure, that'd be great.
So they came in, we've been kind of giving them the leeway to hit the ground running. We went through with our finance team and the Board of Ed's finance team on every outstanding item for 2022 and how to get there, and setting reasonable and realistic deadlines to get each piece done. To follow through with that, now we have weekly meetings with them. So our last one was yesterday morning, going through a spreadsheet that they set up to see which piece is completed. I know Dan is on the call, so we could talk about it, but I felt from my follow-up call with CLA that we are on the right track. They felt very confident. There were a couple items that they thought could take a bit more time. In order to get those done, they are setting in a support staff person. I believe that will start early next week to get things done. Now, I think the challenge from what I'm understanding from our finance team is on sort of the paper files going digital. I understand was a time commitment for our lack of support staff. So having somebody in there, I think, is going to be a big hand help. The Board of Ed side, they seem to be moving forward as well, getting things done. From my understanding with my conversation with CLA afterwards, they don't seem to think that's going to be a big hold. What we're also trying to do internally is our team is looking at what can we pull now that will also work for 2023, so that we're not starting from the beginning per se. I could have Dan now, I think could be an appropriate time to jump in on any other existing challenges he feels. But from my perspective, I feel having these regular calls with CLA until we get this done is definitely a turn in the right direction, and gave us some hope internally on seeing this come to an end soon.
And if I may, I just want to say I do know Scott Bassett is also on the call, and he can give anything from RSM's perspective as well.
Yeah, I would just ask in the collective discussion if you can give some comment in regards to the anticipated target deadlines for submitting the 2022, as well as how long thereafter you would be thinking the 2023 would be wrapped up and issued as well. So whether it be Dan, Taylor, or Scott.
Sure. Dan, I know you concluded the call with them yesterday, and what I saw was all of our deadlines are set through March, so that we're hoping April, in case it really would have to be if RSM sends something back. But every deadline we have for every outstanding item, I believe, still exists in March of this year. So, Dan, do you want to speak to that and ensure that I'm on the right track here?
Sure. Yeah, everything we met with CLA last week that was scheduled out for February has been met. A couple of the large items left are capital asset. That takes care of 7 items right there. That should be done. That will be done by the end of this week. I'm hoping it'll be done by the end of the day. We worked on that late last night, and it looks to be in decent shape. There's a few items that obviously can't be done until the very end, like the MD&A and statistical section. We have a few items left with the Board of Ed that they had a consultant come in yesterday to help them with. I haven't heard back on that because they have a debit balance on the AP. So we're just having to schedule everything out, and then we'll do adjusting entries to get to the correct balances. The rest is looking good. Most of the items that were on the list that I sent over for the meeting on the 14th have been taken care of. There's a few things that are still outstanding on that. And like I said, capital assets are probably the biggest one on there, and the accounts payable and reserve for encumbrances for the school side. But the rest have been taken care of.
With that, Dan, let's just give this group the answer they're looking for. And I do believe that we've set all our internal deadlines within March, so we can come back to you to say that we want to get this done within April's timeframe, and not have to keep coming back to you like it's been in the past every 30 days. That is from our end. They want to get everything to RSM. Now, to be done by April means that everything we've sent to RSM is ready for them to approve, and means that everything is done perfectly and correctly, right? I don't know if that's the case. I'll be very honest with you. We're working diligently to make sure that's the case, and that's why CLA is here. We feel like we can meet our deadlines, but as long as RSM doesn't catch anything that makes us have to go back, and do some more due diligence is all.
Yes, we're online with getting everything done. I think that our latest, I'm trying to find the CLA spreadsheet here, but the latest thing we have is scheduled for March 8th. So the question, I guess, to Scott is, if we have everything in by March 8th, is April 1st a realistic deadline?
And those are conversations we can have offline. I think to the group here, what I'd like to portray to them is this is where we are. These are our deadlines. You're here March 8th. I think for us, it'd be reasonable to say not even April 1st. I want to say sometime in April, because that gives us a little bit of room. And ideally, we finish it before that. But I'm comfortable saying, if we even say mid-April, I think it's probably the best bet, because I don't want to come back to you and say, hey, March 8th turned into March 15th, and here we are again. I believe the line was, if you're gonna punch me in the lip, punch me in the lip. So I just want to let you know where we are.
All right, thank you, Mayor. And I think it's recognized the great additional steps that have been taken in the interim since you came on board in December. So it's good to hear, and we'll hope that you're able to make those targeted deadlines and perhaps have the 2022 audit issued sometime in April.
And thank you very much. And offline, officially, we will keep you abreast if anything changes. When we know it, we'll let you know, so you're not waiting for another official call, in 2 months to hear that. We will keep you tuned to everything that's going on.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. For the commissioners, any other additional follow-up or questions?
I have one. Michael?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to make the mayor and the town aware that we are holding another MFAC meeting on the 17th, and if that deliverable is not met, then you would be asked to return again for the next meeting.
Understood.
Thank you.
Great.
Just one quick question. As far as RSM, have you had discussions with RSM, and are they in target and in line with delivering the audit timely or within the date you discussed?
Scott from RSM is on, and he did raise his hand earlier. Scott, do you want to come in and opine on anything? Got to unmute yourself, Scott.
Yeah, you're on mute, Scott.
Okay. Hi, guys. It's Scott Bassett. Well, the plan is going great in Danbury, but as you know, March is our busiest time. I don't have folks on the sideline here waiting for information to gather. April does clear up for us. We aren't anticipating doing municipal work in February and April within the firm. So April will be the month that we're going to jump back in really and look at the deliverables that are given to us from the city. Just a note, we already have over 1,000 hours into this job from working on it from last September. So it isn't like we've been on the sidelines, but as you all know, everybody on this group, getting something over the finish line isn't just getting the information on Wednesday and getting it out on Thursday. We're hired to be your external auditors, and we have a process internally that we do. Transparent, I would say April 30th is a more realistic date, just from man hours from our side. And, that's just where we are. So I just want to be very transparent about that. Man hours for everybody is important. And we just, in March, in a typical CPA firm, there's not a lot of folks sitting on the bench.
Okay. Thank you, Scott.
Mike, I have a question.
Yes, Tony.
So as you've gone through this process, have you identified any efficiencies or corrections to procedures or anything that would sort of prevent this from happening next year? So you don't have to go through this again?
Is that for me, Tony?
Actually, mostly for the city.
Okay.
I was getting the deliverables on a more timely basis.
Thank you, Tony.
Yeah, I think
I'll jump in and say, if you don't mind. I apologize. I don't want to speak over anybody.
You're good.
Good, thank you. So what, Tony, I think the opportunity was the team was short-staffed, and when we came in, there had been some recs that just hadn't been filled, and we came in and pretty aggressive on saying that this can't sit in the sideline anymore. We brought in an assistant finance director that has been here with us for a couple of weeks now with a very good background. So the commitment from the city to fill those holes, it's a complete night and day from what was going on before we took office in December. As we learn any other efficiencies, of course, we'll implement them as well. But I think right now it's more of a resource on the team and how much they were overburdened, at least on the city side. On the Board of Education side, we are working through that as well. I definitely believe there's some efficiencies that can be created there, some changes in how the finance team is run, and we are looking at that as well. But from my perspective, in the few months I've been here, it's only been a couple, really almost 3. The team was just overwhelmed downstairs. There's a lot going on. They lost a finance director. People had to step into new roles, and they were understaffed. And that got them to where they are. Bringing in CLA gives them a little bit of more resources, hiring those positions, right tracking certain responsibilities within the department. I believe once we get out of this, we'll make sure that these things don't happen again. The city of Danbury is fiscally sound. The challenge is right now was just getting this audit done, and I do believe it was a resources issue.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you for the question.
Thank
you as well for your that realistic timeline as well. So to the team, I apologize. That's why April 1st I knew probably wasn't correct. That's why I went mid-April. If okay, I'd like to just echo what Scott said, and I want to make sure I'm always very realistic to you as well.
Okay. All right. So thank you, everyone, in regards to Danbury, and at our April 17th meeting, we'll look for an update, status update on how things are looking at that point. If April 30th at that point is realistic, and then anticipate we'll certainly be looking for an update on how things are looking for the 2023 audit.
Absolutely, and we're committed to keeping CLA to work through 23 as well, to make sure everybody's comfortable and know that we're serious about getting this done.
Okay. All right. Very good. Okay, next up is East Lyme. I believe we have with us the first selectman, Dan Cunningham.
Good morning.
Good
Dan
morning.
Cunningham here, and I'm here with Kevin Gervais, the Director of Finance. And on track, I believe, we have a
Can everyone hear us now? Sorry, we were on mute.
Yeah, we can hear you now, so if you want to start.
and you can see us. We're good.
And you can see our presentation.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, so let me say good morning to everyone. I'm Dan Cunningham, and with me is Kevin Gervais. We are making good progress, I believe. As you may recall, I was sworn in on December 4th, 2023, and soon after I was here, I was appraised my finance director that difficulties with this audit and how we were behind in getting this reported to the state of Connecticut. We've made changes. Immediately we went to, as soon as I started to appreciate the seriousness of the situation, we've gone to weekly meetings on Fridays to see the status of where we're at in completion. We expect with the changes we're making that in the future, after this is completed, we will schedule so we can make timely reportings going forward. Let's see, we've invested resources to try to solve the problem. One of the first things we did was I hired an outside accountant to work approximately 24 hours a week, and her task will be solely working on getting this audit out and getting us up to speed so we don't get in this situation again in the future. Another thing that we did, Kevin here has been tasked also with a lot of the human resources responsibilities. I've hired a human resources manager, and she has started. She started on February 20th, and she's really coming up to speed very quickly on that task and taking a lot of pressure off of Kevin. So more and more resources are now being directed at satisfying the audit. My understanding from our conversations and what we're tracking is that we expect to meet our goal of completing the 2022 by March 15th. So certainly would expect that our next meeting we'll be able to report to you that 2022 is behind us and we're working diligently on 2023 with the goal to ultimately getting timely from that point forward.
So, can I step in?
Yes, of course.
Let me, oh, hold on here, wrong screen. All right, so just to bring everyone up to speed with our 2021 audit, we finished that last March. So it's been approximately a year since we've been sludging through 2022. We are now in, so I just wanted to, last meeting we presented, this was our timeline. We were hoping to get the financial statements done by 2/28, which is today. We've had daily meetings with our auditors the last couple of weeks to wrap everything up and send it over the finish line. And I saw Dave Hansen was on the call. We've been emailing up to 11 o'clock last night. So I just wanted to give everyone an update. So we've shifted the goalpost here 2 weeks. So we're hoping to finish this up by March 15th. We wrapped up our open items today, yesterday and today. We just had to finish a few lingering open items. So I know this is a very ambitious timeline to get it finalized. So I guess it's really going to depend on how many questions the technical review team has left. But our side, we're comfortable. We're going to get this across the finish line. We're hoping to have a robust draft financials here in the next couple of days to review, go forward, and start working on 2023. We hired, as Dan mentioned, we hired an external accountant. We had a previous external accountant who assisted us in getting 2022 ready and starting 2023. But that particular person could only work a couple hours a week, on a Friday kind of situation, maybe a Saturday. This new accountant we've hired, Veronica Calvert, who I believe the commission's familiar with. She's worked on some other audits that were delayed in the past. She's committed to working 24 hours a week to help us catch up, bring us up to speed. So as soon as we were done with 2022, our hope is to get 2023 done. I know originally I think we did an August deadline. Now that we've hired an HR manager to alleviate, 25-30% of my job, we are also implementing Munis at the same time. So the Munis implementation right now, we're in a little bit of a lull. We've done, the crosswalks and everything to bring us up to speed there. So we're getting more time to dedicate the finance staff to these audits. So as we're bringing more resources online, my deputy finance director, which was a new position about 4 months ago, that person's working, diligently on the audits, around the clock, pending any, day-to-day emergencies. But the town's really dedicated a lot of resources in the last year to getting these audits done. So as soon as we get this 2022 audit done, I think we're going to gain some traction in 23. And our goal originally was to get 24 filed by 12/31. So we've got some work cut out for us. That's very ambitious to get 3 audits done in a year, but if that happens, I think we need to pop a bottle of champagne, but we'll see.
Yeah, no, we'll be very happy, but we get it. I get it. The importance of this whole audit process. And, I'd heard rumors before I took office of what was going on, and but now I'm into it. Kevin has been terrific with it, really focusing on it, and we've really staffed up to make this happen. And I think the fact that we're going to hopefully achieve this by March 15th is very serious about it, and directing the resources that are appropriate to get this done.
Okay. It looks like you may have a representative from CLA on the call.
I see Dave.
Yes.
Hansen.
Yeah, Nicoletta's on as well.
Okay.
So we received open items as of yesterday. We haven't gone through them yet. So at this point, we're not. We don't want to give a timeline. The March 15th is not realistic at this point on our end, because we haven't even gone through the open items that we received yesterday as of yet. Maybe after that we can give a more realistic expectation, but at this point that wouldn't give us enough time to go through our quality review process at this point.
Okay.
In the event that they do provide everything, be it by March 15th, what do you think the feasibility is, perhaps in a month thereafter, being able to issue the financials?
Yes, I think that's realistic if we have everything, and then give us a month to turn it around. I think that's certainly realistic.
Okay. And have you begun any work on the 2023 audit?
We have not, no.
No, we would not start 2023 audit without finishing 2022.
Okay. For the commissioners, any follow-up questions or comments? Okay. With that, so Kevin, that's great with some of the responsibilities on the HR side, freeing you up to keep moving along with the targets. Certainly, you've got a lot in front of you, but I think, certainly take care of 2022, focus on 2023, and then, I think hopefully you'll be positioned well, if not by the end of the year, with 2024 soon thereafter.
That's our plan.
That's the goal.
Okay. All right. So we'll look forward to an update on April 17th with hopefully the finish line in sight for the issuance of 2022 and a plan for 2023.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks for your cooperation, and we're going to do everything we can on our end. So thank you.
And thank you, Kimberly and Mr. Plummer. You guys, the previous call we had, there was some suggestions on external accountants. So we reached out to some people there and we were able to retain the services of someone. And we've had weekly meetings with that person. So I think that'll be a great addition to our team and help us really get through these audits going forward.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Okay, so next up, we have the town of Marlborough. I do see Linda Stavitsky. Nice to see you, by the way. And do we have town manager David Porter on the call as well?
Yes, I am here.
Okay. All right. Good morning. David, do you want to start off?
Sure, I would be happy to. Thank you very much. From my perspective, and I was hired as the first town manager in Marlborough's history following a charter revision in August of 2023. From my perspective, the issues that we're confronting are primarily around staffing. Our longtime finance director, after 21 years of service, resigned in November of 2021. At that time, our very small finance department was staffed with a very part-time elected treasurer, a full-time finance director, and a part-time clerk who was scheduled to work 20 hours a week. In the interim, the school business manager assisted our finance department on a very ad hoc basis. A new finance director was hired in January of 2022, but unfortunately we were unable to retain her. She resigned in August of 2022. The next director was hired on March 14th of 2023 and left on March 30th of 2023. And in the interim, the longtime previous finance director agreed to assist on a very part-time basis with some of the backlog and reconciliation work, which he continues to do. The next director was hired in April of 2023. He was fully employed and retained his full employment with another town and was just part-time with Marlborough, and he left at the end of July of 2023. So then I started August 7th, realized the severity of the situation that we were confronting, moved quickly, and feel very fortunate to have found Linda Savitsky. She is, as many people on this call know, extraordinarily capable and experienced, and has really moved mountains to better our situation. It is my understanding that she should have the last of the materials that our auditors have requested to them within the next 7 to 10 days. I mean, Linda is here and Vanessa is as well. If I speak out of turn or say anything incorrect, please jump in. And then, frankly, CLA has been a pleasure to work with. I think that they are devoting the resources on their end that are required, but I'll defer to Vanessa to talk about their timeline once they have all of the materials that they need from us. No less important is what we are doing and will do in the medium and long terms to not have this happen again. And on that front, I'm very pleased to report that we just hired a part-time accounting clerk with a strong HR and payroll background who will be starting on Monday, March 4th. And we'll be obviously taking some of that payroll and benefits administration off of our other part-time clerk, who will then focus on accounts payable. And then just yesterday, we advertised on a variety of sites, including the Connecticut GFOA, for a full-time finance director. We have significantly increased the salary relative to when we last advertised it. I'm cautiously optimistic that we will be able to attract a capable candidate. But as I think everyone on this call recognizes, there is a severe shortage. I mean, a mismatch in the market for of candidates who want and are able to do these jobs. As a result, in this next 2024-25 budget, I have included resources not only to hire a full-time finance director, but with Ms. Savitsky's permission, and we have also included resources to keep her on through the end of the next fiscal year, because I don't know who we are going to get applying for our job. Under the best of circumstances, we will find an experienced, capable, highly competent finance director, and we will, not only catch up with our 23 audit, but also get 24 in on time. But I haven't yet received applications, and if we end up needing to hire someone who does not have extensive prior experience, then we are keeping Linda on board to help mentor and train that person to make sure that he or she is more successful than the revolving door of short-term finance directors that we've struggled with in the past.
Okay. Thank you, David. Linda, good morning. It's nice to see you. And I guess in combination with Vanessa, if kind of similar to the East Lyme timeline, if you have all the information for 2022 be it by mid-March, is it anticipated realistic that perhaps by mid-April, end of April, the 2022 financials will be issued?
Vanessa, I think, is going to have to answer that one.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Yes, I think we have a handful of things open, and from your timeline that you just stated, Mike, I think, within a week of getting those items from Marlboro, we could probably have a draft and definitely issued by the end of April.
Okay, great. And then, the next step would be how quickly, can all the information be provided for 2023, and hopefully before too long thereafter, that one can be wrapped up. Mr. Porter, certainly we understand the nature of the market right now, and certainly, wish you luck with landing a good candidate for your open finance director position.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, well, to all of you then with Marlboro, thank you. We're gonna move on next to the next agenda item regarding the city of Derby. Do we have Mayor DiMartino with us to start off with an update since we last met?
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Mike, I've got to interrupt that I have to disclose that they're a client of our firm, the city of Derby, so if that could be noted.
Yes, thank you, Glenn. Okay.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I took office on December 2nd. We had a vacancy in our finance director position, in our tax collector position. I'm happy to announce that we have an interim finance director. He's been here for a little over 2 months. His name is Brian Hall. He's on the call with me today. He's doing a fantastic job for us. We really look forward to trying to make him a permanent employee very shortly. We interviewed the last 2 weeks for the tax collector position, which we haven't had in 3 years, and offered a job to the top candidate yesterday. So we're hoping to fill that position within the next couple of weeks. And I'm just like very happy that we're filling these key positions that have been missing in the city for quite some time.
Okay. I'm sorry, anything else?
I'm happy to continue on with the status update unless there's any other questions.
Well, first off, welcome, Brian. It's great that the City of Derby has been able to secure your services. And yes, that'd be great if you can give us a status update with 2023. And to the extent you can comment on how things are looking from a status position for 2024 so far this year.
Sure, absolutely. So the 2023 audit is wrapping up. I fully expect it to be completed in March. You know, there were a number of reasons for delays. I think a big one was the changeover in the new system from GEMS to MIP. And because the cutover date was, you know, right at the end of the fiscal year, there was no running of parallel systems. It's been a real challenge to complete this audit. It's put a lot of extra work on the team. But that said, we've made good progress. And the last update we had from our audit team was that March is, you know, it should be complete and issued. I am a little hesitant, though I know March is a busy time, but from my perspective, pretty much everything's been delivered. So as far as 23-24 year goes, you know, this was really the biggest challenge, I think, when I first started the role and started to uncover what's going on with the city. There was really a lot of challenges with the budget. Many items were just materially under budgeted. I'll give you the biggest example, I guess, would be benefits for all the employees. You know, we had historically run around $9 million and they budgeted $8 million, right? So, you know, right out of the gate, you've got real problems. Revenues, they were aggressive on their collection rate assumptions. Historically, we've been at 96% on a lot of our current year tax collections, and they budgeted 98%. We knew we were going into a renegotiation with our garbage services, and they did not put any additional money in. And it had been a long time since we had, you know, RFP'd out those services, and the costs went up a lot. So there were many items that are unfortunately, you know, going to put a hole in our budget of at least $2.5 million. I think I called out 2.4 million in the documents that we provided. So a big part of what I've been doing is trying to figure out how are we going to solution for this problem so that our fund balance doesn't, you know, go negative or drop so dramatically that we have other issues and more problems. So I am happy to report that, you know, the two biggest items that we came up with for solutions were kind of repurposing our ARPA funds to help with our ongoing government kind of operations and services for this fiscal year. So we'll use the revenue reduction justification for that, run that by our auditors, our lawyers, and we've started to talk with both boards. Everyone seems very open and amenable to that solution, which will allow us to really offset most, if not all, of the shortfalls that I just highlighted. It was great to hear last night too at our board meeting that one of our local Derby residents spoke up and encouraged the boards to support my recommendations on what to do with the ARPA funds. So I know my message is getting out there, not only with the mayor, the board, but also with the community. So they understand the challenges we're facing. And unfortunately, you know, everybody would love to spend that money on, you know, other investments, but Derby just is not going to have that luxury right now. So, and I think everyone's aware of that. The other thing that happened is they did approve, you know, a reduction of the amount of money we're going to contribute towards a retirement fund. You know, while that's not a great long-term solution, we did get our retirement report back from Hooker & Holcomb. We're funded at over 80%. The markets have been very good this year, so I don't think it's going to have a material impact on the long-term viability of the pension. So unfortunately, that's just a short-term decision that we're going to have to make, but that's been approved by both boards and has already been, incorporated into this year's plan. Anyone have any questions on anything I've brought up?
Before we get back to the audit, I think Brian and Mayor DiMartino, a lot of these comments, it's certainly with the ARPA side, it's great if that's going to solve your problem for 2024 and not further deplete the city's fund balance. Can you speak to what the plans are for the budget development for the next fiscal year?
Sure, absolutely. The third main thing I've been doing in my little over 2 months here is to build the budget for 24-25, one where it is a balanced budget and doesn't have these same issues. So all the department heads have submitted their budget requests. All the major budget departments, Board of Ed, Police, Fire, have presented to the board. We're now at the phase where by the end of this week, I'll have a preliminary draft budget out to the mayor and to the board to review, with the expectation that, we're going to do our best to try to make cuts where it makes sense and come up with our recommendations. But at the end of the day, taxes are going to be raised, and we've been talked about that with the mayor, talked about with the board. I've mentioned it in all the public meetings. It's going to happen. We have to balance the budget. We have to build a realistic budget this year where it hasn't been done in the past. I've identified all the areas where I know we were short, either because the assumptions were incorrect or whatever have you. But so I do feel good about that. Now it's really just about, okay, how much our taxes are going to raise? Are we going to do it and try to balance this budget in 1 year, or are we going to maybe try to phase it over a 2-year period? I think depending on the size of that increase, it's a little bit to be determined, that strategy. But for sure, by the time the next time we meet, we'll have a much better idea of exactly how we're going to get to that balanced budget.
Okay. And I think this will, for you, Brian, definitely before you, and Mayor, I believe it may have been before you as well. But on past meetings with the commission, I think we had some conversations in regards to looking at establishing an internal service fund for your health benefits program so that you could separate out the volatility from within your general fund. So I just throw it out there as something that you may want to have a conversation with your auditors to see about the process of establishing a separate internal service fund. Again, with the value there in eliminating the annual volatility that can happen year to year within the general fund when you have health benefits fully funded and programmed within the general budget.
Sure, I'll have to look into that. I think part of our challenge is that because we are self-funded, there is going to be a certain amount of volatility that we're just going to have to deal with. But we have asked for a lot of different options from our insurance broker to evaluate for the upcoming year. Do we want to continue to be self-funded? Do we want to move to more of some sort of different model? So we're going to evaluate all those things and also take into account this internal service funds idea.
Okay. And circling back to the audit, do you have a representative from your audit firm here to speak on how they see this wrapping up for 2023?
I'm not sure if John Acabella is on the call or not. I don't. John, if you are, feel free to jump on. If not, like I said, we met with him last week in the mayor's office. He's the one that put out the timeline for. He said, mid-March. So I'm just putting it out there, end of March.
Okay.
That's
right.
less.
Okay. Thank you. So on that front, we'll certainly look for a status update at the next meeting on April 17th. For the commissioners, I can just go around. Tony?
I'm all set, Mike. My big question is about the budget, so I appreciate you being proactive and answering those questions, and that you have a plan to address them, because I think that was a clear issue here.
Okay, thanks, Tony. Diane?
You took my question, Mike. I was just concerned with them using the ARPA funds to balance this year and where they were going next year, but they addressed that, so I'm good.
Ed?
No questions. Thank you.
Okay. Kim, are you good?
One question. That is on the side of the Board of Ed. I think Commissioner, Superintendent, you're with us today. And my question there is, when I look at the end of the year-to-date reports into the budget, I'm seeing that a lot of these items are still showing some negative balances as if they're overspent. So I just would want to make sure that there aren't any surprises and that the city and the Board of Ed work together to make sure that, you know, are they going to be funded with federal funds and that status so there's no additional surprises?
Thanks, Ms. Kempton. Yes, we work closely with the city, with Brian, Robbie Trainer, our business manager as well. And while they might show as a negative now because things are encumbered through end of year, grants will take care of many of those negative, what look like negative balances now once you add back in the grants.
Very good. I just wanted to get confirmation on that.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So for the representatives from Derby, thank you. And we'll plan to look for the updates on the next call.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay. Next up, we have the town of Hamden. I can't really see who's on the call. I do see the mayor. So good morning, Mayor.
Good morning. I'm a little under the weather today, so I'll go through the presentation and try to use as little words as possible. We also have today David Capoletti, our auditor, and Curtis Eatman, our finance director. So for my review, I'll just kind of touch on ARPA. When we submitted our information earlier in the month, we are going through all of the allocations that the council put in their budget and reviewing them with our consultants, UHY, and making sure that there are programs and details within each of the allocations that are an allowable expense, and trying to get as many of these allocations under contract as quickly as possible. Our audit has been submitted on time. This audit is the annual comprehensive financial report, so giving a lot more information than is required as part of the audit, a 10-year look back to show all the progress that we've made. And we've also hired within our finance department a new accountant and junior accountant. Our accountant had retired and our junior accountant left the town. So these positions were vacant for a couple of months and really vital to operations. Our grand list was submitted on time, and we are doing a revaluation for the whole town and in our data collection stage, so that that grand list with the reval will be online for next year.
So that's for the October 124. That's the reval year?
Yes.
Okay. Great. Okay, Mayor, are there any additional updates?
We submitted our financial reports, and I think that's it for me. But David can go through the audit with you a little bit if you'd like, and you can hear from him how we're doing.
That sounds good. David?
Hello, you could hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, we can go through the audit and the management letter. We'll just follow through the management letter quickly. And again, we are following the process of the improvements of the town of Hamden's finances and trying to give some light ahead, some areas that we think could be better developed. One of the things this year is one of the things we've been following with the town was the development of the operating budget. And so specifically on the revenue side, we're historically lower than the actuals. And this year they came in 9.6 million above the budget. So we feel that the town has now developed for the second year a very well-developed budget, operating budget, and have estimated their revenues accurately. The large fund balance increase came from three different areas. The conservatism of the budget, property tax estimates being one noted. And then also they have a new general fund policy that added 6 million into the general fund as well, and the rest came from savings. So as far as the operations on a year-to-year basis, we see a lot of improvements with the town of Hamden. When we move on to the capital projects, we do see some areas that could use some improvement in here. I think one of the reasons that Hamden has had difficulties was the relatively low general fund balance. And as we show in our management letter, the increase is now they have $56 million in their general fund, which gives them a nice foundation to build a better capital project and bonding process. And so what we're looking there is that they continually list their bonded projects, make sure that they're being completed timely, and maybe even consider using their resources better, so that it might be a method which to reduce the outstanding bonds. Another area where we're seeing some improvements is that in the previous downturn of the town of Hamden, to fund the general fund, they pulled resources out of certain areas, specifically things such as the insurance risk fund, which mainly has large deficits due to a tornado in town. The ice rink and is another area. And so we are seeing in these that the town has a long-term plan to refund these funds to bring the fund deficit to a positive amount. So moving forward with the debt, we did talk about a little bit about maybe improving the capital projects similar to how they did the general fund budget, so that we could reduce the outstanding bonds. One of our concerns here is that you do have a pension bond that's larger than the town would usually bond. So we would like to see a long-term reduction of debt rather than a stabilization. I think that's part of the improving the finances of the town. However, that only includes 25% of the long-term debt of the town. So the larger portion being the OPEB, and around 45%, and another 30% being in the pension. They continue to fund the pension at the ARC level by state statute. And so the area really that we're looking for is maybe or not maybe, but to recommend an improvement to the OPEB, which might now include a stronger funding process, as well as negotiations and employee contracts. I think that's one concern that we're looking for some improvement that we're not seeing. So overall, we do see that they have made their resources available to meet current obligations, but and some of them has been an improvement in the general fund and with the surpluses, but we're also seeing that in some of the interim liabilities are taking place, but we haven't seen much improvements in the long-term liabilities. And I think that's a natural process of reconstructing the town's finances, and I think that's just a natural step forward. And then finally, you know, as we listened to the other towns, and you're probably aware of the state, the town does have some turnovers, as you heard in the finance office. One of our areas of concern is the human resources is also having turnovers in key positions at the same town the payroll department is. And so we're just going to risk a caution. We didn't report any internal control deficiencies, but we did become aware of some cracks, I would say, in the internal control process. And so, you know, what we're recommending there is, as the new people are hired, they should be obviously educated as quick as possible, but maybe take a relook at what their internal control process is in those areas. Specifically, the internal controls of the payroll and the human resources relying on some of the talents of the people who are now retiring. The town also has the employees of the town used to have a substantial amount of people in key positions that are either retiring or have the ability to retire. And so that is one of our concerns moving forward that the town should be aware of.
Okay, thank you. And, you know, certainly, you know, the commission has made note of the tremendous progress that the town of Hamden has made, and certainly is evidenced with the financial results of operations for 2023. You know, certainly it's you know, as you know, on a personal experience on my end, these things don't happen overnight, and on the long-term liabilities front, it's going to take time to address those. But you know, certainly, Mayor, I think in the direction that you have been going and are headed. To David's comments, you know, in discussions with your consultants, I think it's in Labor Council and others, it's evaluating where there's opportunities to start to attack those long-term liabilities.
Yes, we are negotiating 7 contracts this year, so plenty of opportunity to do that. And we also have hired a new HR director who will start on Monday. And she's got a lot of municipal experience in New Haven. So that's very helpful.
Okay, wonderful. Just a quick status update. How are things going this year, this fiscal year?
We're doing really well this fiscal year with our budget to actuals. And just we've had to put in a few consultants for some of the departures that we've had. So a little bit of fluctuation between salaries and ProTech. But doing really well, keeping to budget, and again, seeing that organic budget surplus.
Okay, very good. For the commissioners, Glenn?
I was very happy to hear about the, you know, the approach to trying to reduce the long-term debt. I think that's been a big pressure on Hamden's budget, and so it sounds good that they're approaching that. I guess my only thought would be is if there were any, it might be a twofold question, any big capital needs that need to be blended in, because that's obviously going to kind of push back on reducing long-term debt, as well as, and I think you do, that the town has a capital plan, either 5 years out, 10 years out or so.
Yes, our charter requires every year that we produce a capital plan alongside our budget, and there are significant needs. I would say mostly, you know, a fire truck every year, which can be between $1.5 and $2 million, and then a lot of equipment in public works. So we do have significant needs, and as we're going through all of the ARPA allocations and trying to develop those more details and programming for our ARPA budget, if we are unable to meet the timelines, we've kind of set up internal timelines for ourselves. So if by early summer we are not able to develop all of those programs, we'll start using some of the ARPA dollars to for our capital needs.
Thank you, and just wish you continued success.
Thank you.
Diane?
Couple of questions, and again, I'll reiterate, I think Hampton has really made a lot of progress over the last few years. I think my question with ARPA, and I know we probably have this somewhere, how much in ARPA funds did you receive?
So in total, it was $24 million. The first $6 million was spent by my predecessor on revenue replacement.
Okay.
And so the $18 million left has been developed by the Legislative Council with a budget filled with a lot of allocations.
Okay. Yeah, my only concern with question, and it sounds like you know this already, is with the revenue replacement, you really can use it for anything, but it sounds like a majority of that was used up before you took office. So it's important, I guess, just to keep track of that timeline. We received about 28 million as well, and I know it's just really hard to make sure that you can meet those deadlines by the end of the year. So good luck with that, and it sounds like you have that under control.
Thank you.
Tony?
Yeah, I just want to make a comment. I was really impressed that you put out a comprehensive annual financial report, and I just found it interesting to look through the history and see some of the trends in particularly your statistical section. So I think the transparency of that information is great, and hopefully now that you've accomplished some of these short-term things, you can look to the long term. But I just wanted to make a comment about the financial report.
Thank you.
Okay. Ed?
No questions. Sounds like some positive movements, so that's good to hear. Thank you.
Thank you. And Kim?
Just one question, actually maybe two. One being keeping an eye on the ball for the internal service fund, as that deficit is, it's come down a little bit through the change of this past fiscal year from a 12 million to a $10 million, but I would think that you need to put that in your budget to slowly close that gap of that internal service fund deficit, as well as the other items that were mentioned. But the other item is we noticed a change in your amended budget, and it's within the finance office of an increase of, I think it's around $3 million. Was that a planned change? My guess is it could be your fund balance, but I'm not sure.
So I'll have to review that with finance and get back to you on that.
Sure.
Mayor, would you want me to help you with that?
Yes, please.
Okay, no, that's all right. Actually, in a late movement of the finance office was to increase funding to the workers' comp. So they put an additional, I believe, 2 million in. And so that's what that transfer is. So I guess the finance office had the same questions you did. They're expecting some working comp, closing some workers' comp issues, and they needed some extra funding. Currently, the Hampton uses a pay-as-you-go method, and in our last year's audit, we recommended that they increase savings in the workers' comp and medical to protect the general fund balance a little bit stronger. And they followed that recommendation, and they looked ahead with some funding needs. So that's what that transfer is.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Mayor, thank you for the time today, and hope you feel better soon.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations on your hard work.
Thank you.
Indeed. Okay, we're going to move on now to the town of Plymouth.
Good morning.
Good morning. Mayor, nice to see you again.
Likewise, and congratulations again on your appointment.
Thank you.
Just a quick update, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. I just recently submitted our budget to the Board of Finance for review. In the proposed budget, once again, we don't touch our undesignated fund balance, and we fully fund the pensions. That's something that I've done in both of my prior budgets and continued to maintain that this year. So we're going through our budget process, and we'll see how that shakes out. In current year, there's a couple line items that I'm paying attention to. One is police overtime. We're down 5 police officers, but we are about to have 4 in the academy. So our shortage shouldn't be very long, but obviously with the shortage we have, police overtime is probably going to run over this year. So we're keeping an eye on that. And we've also had some unexpected technology expenses that have come in. So we're going to have to figure that out over the coming months, how to cover that overage as well. But those are the 2 main issues for this year. As long as we don't have, 6 snowstorms in March, I think we'll be okay in Public Works. We're all crossing our fingers, I know. Let's see. Capitals, I know a prior town was talking about their capital plan. I just restarted our capital committee in town, and they've been meeting since December. They had not met prior since COVID. So we had no operating capital plan that was vetted by our capitals committee, and they just restarted. So we should have all of our departments on a 5-year capital needs plan moving forward. This is going to be kind of a transition year because they did just start in December, but certainly for next year's budget, we should have that ironed up and ready to go, and we're excited about that. This year's audit, we did run into a little delay, and I can let our finance director, Grace, or I believe Santo is here, our auditor, can give you a little background on that. I believe we're just wrapping up the 23 now, so that should be issued very shortly. ARPA funds, we have about 133,000 left out of 3.4 million. So obviously we're working on the last allocation of that by the end of this year. And let's see. Oh, and some good news. We did finally make a hire in our vacant staff accountant position in the finance office, and they will start March 11th. So we're really excited about adding that additional staff accountant. I think it'll really help us out and get our reports out in a timely fashion. So other than that,
that's great news to Grace.
Yes. Yes, and with some municipal experience too. So we're really excited about that as well. So the learning curve should be shortened.
Great. Grace, do you want to give us an update in regards to the audit? And I don't know if this was commented on in the last call, but how are the results of operations looking in regards to the 2023 audit, year-end financials?
Well, to give you an update on the audit, I am talking with the auditors weekly. Right now, the audit is in final review. I spoke with Santo yesterday. The audit's in final review, so I think we're looking at mid-March to get the 2023 audit complete. And as far as the results, they're looking good. We're not going to be, it'll be our fund balance will be contributing to our undesignated fund balance. I could pass it over to Santo and he can tell you a little bit more about the audit.
Hi, everyone. Santo Carter from CLA. Yeah, they definitely have a surplus. It's in excess. It's unaudited. It's not official yet, but they do have a significant surplus in the general fund. Just a heads up there. I also wanted to note that Town of Plymouth probably would have been issued by now, but we had a little issue with the 22 audit where I'm gonna have to just reissue it for some final changes that didn't make the final version last year. So if not for that, they probably would have been issued early February ish. But other than that, everything is in final review and we are anticipating a mid-March issuance.
Okay, great. My one question for you, Grace, how are things looking this fiscal year? Are you current with the bank reconciliations and the booking of the associated entries in the system?
Yes, we've been current for quite some time. Back in like April 2023, we had like for 6 months, we had a consultant come in to help us catch up with all our bank recs. And we did that for the 23 audit. We were all caught up by then. And we've maintained that. So now with the new person that Mayor Kilduff just mentioned, that'll also help. She's gonna jump in and help with some of the bank reconciliations, as well as one of the big issues with the 23 audit was reconciling with the Board of Ed, and I am going to assign her the task of reconciling quarterly, so that we don't come to year end and all of a sudden, we're having a hard time reconciling. So that'll be a big improvement.
Okay, that's great. Okay, I'm going to open it up to the commissioners. Kim, do you want to start this time?
Sorry, I'll pause for a moment.
Okay. Tony?
I just have a question on this report. It says here for 2024, you have a projected surplus of $2.7 million. But it doesn't seem like the columns tie out to where it says surplus projected. Is there something missing here? No.
Hang on, I'm pulling it up just to.
Because I see where you have the projected surplus for 23 is 3.3 million, 3.2 million.
Which report are you looking at? The 20 fiscal year 23, or or the year to date for the current
Year to date
fiscal year?
24.
As of December?
Yeah, but it says at the bottom of the last page.
Yeah, you got to look at over projected. That's just our current, but projected, we're projecting through the end of the year pretty much to be more or less balanced.
Tony, were you referring to the 23
surplus.
projected, which was the 3.2 million?
Right.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, Santos, is that what you're coming up with for approximate for year-end projections, is around 3.2?
Or, I'm sorry, for
Unaudited. 23.
Yeah, it's a little less than that. It's
a little less than that. Okay.
Yeah, it's in the twos though.
Grants. It looks like you had a significant grant surplus, if I'm reading this correctly.
I'm sorry, Kimberly, are you talking about just the general fund or?
For the revenues.
I was just looking to get an overview of where you thought they were going to land based in comparing it to what the town had provided to try to help what Tony was looking at.
I actually closed the document. I can try to reopen it. It was in its twos. I'm sure it just takes a little while to open.
Okay.
Okay. And I think that we can, that can be provided, offline if need be, as a follow-up, but we'll, in April, when we meet, we'll certainly have the audit report issued, have confirmation on what the year-end results of operations were in the general fund. And if Grace, if you can plan for that meeting, just to have a summary of what the projections look like for the current fiscal year.
For the 24, for the 24 fiscal year?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I provided that as of December.
Yeah, so just an update at that point, you'll have
Yes.
most of the
Yeah,
year
I'll have an
set.
update for 24. And by then we should have our 23 audit completed.
Yes. Okay. Ed, do you have anything?
No questions. Thank you.
Okay. Glenn?
I was just going to ask, with the 23 audit coming, being completed and such, or, soon to be completed, if there were any new or ongoing corrective actions that were found from that fiscal year that were, need to be corrected going forward.
So this is for me.
Yes.
Yeah, so last year there was like a general maintenance, I think, corrective action item. The same item is going to be there this year. It's just a small receivable item, not exactly the same as the prior year, but I don't think it's going to be an issue for 24. It was just given the nature of the fund, it's so small that materiality is kind of low in that fund, which makes it a material item. So they'll get the same material weakness over financial reporting.
Thank you.
Okay. Diane?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay. And circling back, Kim, are you good, or did you have something else?
No, I'm all set. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, Mayor Grace Janto, thank you. And we'll look to have the update again at the April meeting with the expectation. It sounds like the audit's just about there from an issuance standpoint, so that's good to hear.
Yes, thank you, and have a good rest of your meeting and day. We'll see you guys in April.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, so for the commissioners, the last item on the agenda is just other business. Kim, Bill, is there any updates on that, those items?
Rather quickly, we're just wrapping up the final draft of the 3 items of the guidelines and a 5-year template and the facilities for a document to facilitate best practices of timely audits. And we should get that out to the commission soon, probably by, I'm going to say during the month of March. If we're able to wrap up closely soon today, Bill and I have actual legislative testimony today at the same time as this meeting. So we would scoot over and provide our testimony, and that is for the state single audit threshold increase from 300,000 to 500,000. And so so far it looks like it's a positive that it's made a movement. We do have another testimony that we've put in, but it hasn't made it to a bill as of yet. But would just want to bring that to your attention. And the testimony on the other one has to really do with, I think we probably mentioned it at the last meeting, and it is the legislation stating for a town when they want to terminate from the MARB coming back through to the MFAC. It's a smoother transition where each oversighting board will have that opportunity to make those decisions. It's a little clunky at this moment, so hopefully that will move forward smoothly. Bill, am I missing anything?
No.
All right, and being that it is a special meeting, we'll look to close it out and not go off topic with any items that aren't on the agenda. Before we entertain a motion to adjourn, just again, welcome Ed. It's great to have you on the commission. And our next meeting is scheduled for April 17th. With that, if there's no other comments, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second. It's Kim.
Okay.
Thank you,
All in
Derek.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. So
thank you.
Kim, wrapping it up by 11:30, so you can make your way over.
Thank you so much.
Have a good day,
we
everybody.
we will be looking to schedule a luncheon and try to lock it down with Kate.
Good.
Okay, that'd be great.
Okay. Fantastic.
All right, have a good
Thank
day,
you.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care now.